I caught my wife, who was 13 years old, cheating with a co-worker. Just here to get straight to the point. My wife and I have been married since we were 25. We are 38 now. We met in college, got married, and everything has been great. We both graduated, got good jobs, and started our lives together. Me and my wife both made good money, so money was never an issue for us. My wife worked for her dad's small business, while I worked for a very large company. After a few years, my boss left the company out of nowhere, and they needed someone to take over. The only person who knew how to run the department was me. So, I got a major pay jump, a better bonus, and better benefits. The works. So, at 28 I was making probably 3x plus more than my wife. At 28, the same year, my wife gave birth to our first daughter. Then, 2 years later, our second my wife, due to working for her father, was able to be more diverse in her work. Well, around 5 years ago, my father-in-law passed away unexpectedly. That left my mother-in-law and wife in a hard position. Sell the company or run it themselves. My mother-in-law had no clue how to run it, so my wife said she would do it. After my wife took over the company, it did just as well as when her father ran it. With that being said, my wife got a huge pay increase, more than me. I was proud of her. Going from a basic worker to running a whole company isn't easy. Anyway, our daughters started suffering from not seeing their parents. Me and my wife discussed one of us staying home. She said, "The company you work for will be fine without you. Mine could go under." I agreed, so I quit my job and became a stay-at-home dad or husband. I do everything. I make sure the girls are all taken care of. I cook, clean, fix things, make sure errands are run, you name it. I pamper my wife when she gets home from work. This went well for a while until about a year ago. My wife was always very appreciative of what I did and loved it. She has become very mean lately. Like just saying things like, "Do you do anything, or how about you work for real?" What? I work my arse every day, making sure you don't have to lift a finger when you get home at all. Also, I had a real job. But I quit to raise and take care of the girls, our home, and you. Not to mention, my wife is very sexual. Always has been. She quit initiating sex, and when I ask, she is never in the mood. That was very odd. Eventually, I quit trying. I just thought, with all the pandemic crap and everything else, she was just very stressed, and it was getting to her. I started trying harder to make her happy. Nothing ever worked. Last weekend, my oldest had a softball game. So, I get everything ready, and we go. During the game, I wanted to take a video for my mom and dad since they live in another state and don't get to see my daughters that often. I forgot my phone, so I asked my wife if I could see hers. She had been attached to it all day, so it would be good for her to get off it. Anyway, she hands it to me and says she is going to get a drink and a snack. She gets up. I video my daughter when a message comes up on some app. I check, and I can't even fathom what I see. My wife and this guy from her work, who is 8 years younger, are sexting and sending videos and pictures, talking about how great the sex was, and then me. He is saying that I am someone who can't get a real job taking care of his women, and my wife agrees with him. I couldn't believe this SHT I saw. I was so devastated and angry at the same time. I heard my wife coming back, so I closed the app and started videoing. On the ride home and when we get home, my wife tries to talk to me, and I am not in the mood. Eventually, we lay in bed and, for the first time, I guess they hadn't met in a while, tried to have sex. I tell her I am not in a mood. She says, "If you are going to be a bee about everything, you can sleep on the couch." I got up and went to the couch, and I have been here since. I don't know how to move forward with this. I really just don't know where to start. My wife was my everything, my girls are my world, and all of that is ending. Any advice would be wonderful, as I really need it. TLDR. My wife and I met in college and got married. Her dad unalived, and she took over the family business. I became a stay-at-home dad, and she is cheating on me. Edit, I should have mentioned that I did send screenshots of the conversation to my phones. I do have the evidence. Update. Hey everyone, I want to thank you all for the advice you all gave. First off, I do have the text, pictures, videos, and everything. Second, I don't know any of the companies. It is 50/50 between her and my mother-in-law. Third, I can't sleep in bed. I have been sleeping in the guest bedroom every night, and that is where I will be staying. To answer, I have decided to divorce her. Anyway, this morning I called a firm in another town to avoid anyone finding out. Thankfully, we were able to get me in this morning as someone had canceled. After dropping off my girls, I drove over there. To make a long story short, he is a very good lawyer. I showed him what I had. He said that, luckily for me, with the evidence I have, she will be pretty much screwed in the divorce. Seeing as I quit my job to raise our girls, she is never home, she is having an affair, and she prioritizes this man over me and my girls, she will lose very easily. He basically said we will get child support. and alimony. I will keep the house, and we will have to pay for it as long as my girls live there. Also, he stated that we could even try for more money since I am considered no longer viable in the working world to help me pay for more education to get a job. Some of you were right. He said to not work until after the divorce is over. He said since you are the husband, if you have a job, you can lose a lot of this. He asked if I wanted full custody. I said that I don't mind my wife seeing her girls on the weekends every once in a while, but I would rather have mostly full custody. He said that since she had an affair in the marital home, I can basically do what I want. Since he stated that bringing a strange man over to the house put the girls in danger and made her guilty, I will be going for full custody, where she can get weekends once, maybe twice a month. No man will be allowed around my girls, and if there are, she could face problems with me if I find out. I just don't want that posse around my girls. He eventually said to keep quiet until the draft was ready, and then he would issue someone to serve her and have it issued that she was required to leave the home. He said he should have it done sometime next week. He asked me to just keep quiet. He said, I know it is hard and you are upset, but just shut the hell up until everything is done. Once the divorce is over, you can say whatever the hell you want about her, but until then, keep your mouth shut. He said to act as normal. He said no fights, no issues, sleep in a separate bed, and no sex. I said no problem, but why? He said, trust me, just don't do it and do as I say. I just got home and have started getting ready for dinner, acting, and being normal. I will be acting as if everything is okay until she is served next week. As I can only make 2 updates, yes, I actually read the rules. Any more will be on my page if anyone cares. Thank you all for the advice and some very harsh words. And to the one guy who asked for my wife's no-cloth pics, just know. It seems all you have to do is ask her, and she will send them, so it isn't as hard as it appears. Quick edit, he recommended I get an STD test, plus a DNA test on my girls. When I asked why, he said, it is pretty rare that incidents like this are the first time they have happened. So, yeah, that effing hurt to be here and scared the hell out of me. Update 2. Hey everyone, I just want to thank all who sent me good messages over this period. I have been feeling down, and things have been rough. To preface, I have talked to my lawyer about these posts. I didn't go into too much detail. They did tell me, though, that as long as I keep them brief and not super specific, I can post, but I just have to be careful about what I put on to not lead to too many details. That is that. So, for a quick update, like I said, it will be brief and not too specific for legal reason. We will start with the test. I was able to get an STD on myself and a paternity test on my girls. I found out that, thankfully, I have no disease and am clear. Since I have been pretty much SX-less with her for the last year, I wasn't all that surprised. Now for the one that I am sure most of you are wondering. The test was on my 2 girls. Am I the dad? I will always be their dad, regardless of the results. However, I am here to say that, yes, I am their biological father. I have never been so happy to know that I am their dad. I never thought I would have to question it, but here we are. As for what has happened with STBX, well, she is out of the house, and I have been granted full temporary custody. In the future, which may take a while, I will go into more specific details. However, for now, she is out of the house. My lawyer set everything up for me to get my girls and make sure that we legally handled her being removed from the home. It wasn't pretty, but details are for another time. She was served at work, and from what I know, it wasn't pretty. Like I said, details for another time. My girls know what is going on. My oldest knows we are separating, and one of her friend's parents split for the same reason. She has seen what happened with her friend and doesn't want us to split. She has been crying for me to let mommy come home. I will be getting them in with a child therapist to explain and help them understand, with the direction of my lawyer. My youngest just wants mommy to come home and misses her. It ending me and makes me feel like a terrible father, and they probably hate me now. Sometimes I think I should just let their mother cheat on me to keep the family unit and make my girls happy. I just can't do that. Sometimes I think about talking about allowing an open relationship, and we can just wait till the girls are older, but that won't work for me. Plus, I know the girls will pick up on it and will not like it that mommy and daddy don't love each other. As for my ex, she is living with her mother at this point. My mother-in-law has called me and asked to meet. I agreed, and we will meet at some point. She didn't ask for details, as she said we would talk later, but she begged me not to take her granddaughters away from her. I said you are a great and loving grandmother, and as long as you can separate my girls from what is going on between your daughter and me, I see no issue with you being able to see them, and I will not take them out of your life. She thanked me, and that was it. My ex has been trying to call me and text me, trying to figure out us. Under the direction of my lawyer, he has had it set up so that I can talk to her through a trackable method. And it is purely about the girls. No more, no less. So, that is it for now. I will probably keep updating, and once this is all over, I will make one big update for all the details I have to be careful about as of now. Thank you. Update 3. Hey everyone, I thought I would give everyone a small update on some stuff that has happened. So first off, I had Thanksgiving with my STBX and MIL. I did this purely for the girls and made sure with my lawyer that this was only about the girls and not about reconciliation. That was taken care of. First, I met with my MIL pre-Thanksgiving. We met and had a pretty mutual discussion. Mostly just things about how we will handle my daughters after. My mother-in-law did tell me some stuff about my STBX. I guess my STBX was cheated on by her high school boyfriend. I didn't even know she dated anyone. I guess this guy came from one of those family, according to my MIL, and they told her to avoid him. Well, I guess one night she caught him with his head under another girl's dress and his tongue deep in a girl's jewelry box. My mother couldn't believe she would do this. She had a couple boyfriends they met in college, but she knew they wouldn't last. She said that as soon as she met me, she found her son-in-law. She says she is so sorry for her daughter's actions, and will make sure that she doesn't try to do anything problematic with the divorce. Anyway, a couple days before Thanksgiving, my MIL asked for me to come over for dinner with the girls. I said, will she be there? She said yes. I said I couldn't be with her there. She said she understood but asked if we could put on the holiday one more time for the girls. She said, I know you have a lawyer. Ask them, and if they say it is a bad idea, I get it. I did, and they said to tell your wife via the app that this is purely for the girls to avoid any confusion. So, I did. She had contacted me before about coming over. She has been begging me to see me and the girls. The girls have been begging me to see their mom. I swallowed my pride for my girls, and we went. It was awkward. My STBX gave our daughters a hug, fine, then tried to hug and kiss me. I just avoided her and went to give my mother-in-law a hug. My STBX tried to act like a husband and wife and was trying to talk to me. I answered with yes and no's and helped my MIL finish dinner and clean up. My mother-in-law is religious and wanted to do a prayer, and my STBX sat next to me. I held my daughter's hand. My wife tried to grab mine, but I pulled away. I know it may seem petty, but I don't want her touching me. I am an atheist, but out of respect for my MIL, I go along with it. Dinner was fine. Again, STBX is trying to act like we are going to be married and asking about Christmas and vacations, which I guess she wants to take with us as a family. When she mentioned this stuff, I knew going over it was a mistake. We finished dinner, and I pretty much got up, cleaned my daughter's dishes, and was ready to go. My daughters wanted to watch a movie with their mother, whom we always watch. I let them, and my STBX tried to cuddle next to me on the couch. I sat in the chair after that. My mother-in-law was very mad at my STBX the whole night for how she acted. I could tell by the looks she gave her. The movie ended, and we started to leave. My daughter fell asleep, so I carried them to the car. I went in to grab something, and my STBX grabbed me in tears, begging to work on things and saying that she wants to be a family and is so sorry for what happened. Before I could say anything, my MIL grabbed her by the hair, not joking, yanked her, told me goodnight, and began yelling at her daughter. So, yeah. I told my lawyer everything and said nothing indicated reconciliation, and you made that clear in your messages. You are fine. The wife is once again calling and begging to work on us. She gets left on hold. I will only talk about the girls, and I am sure they are going to want to do the same for Christmas. I don't know if I can or if it is okay. Once again, I will discuss this with my lawyer. Update 4. This will not be long, but things have gotten very bad for my girls. Basically, my girls had 2 sessions this week with their therapist. The first one was good. My girls came out with what seemed to be more peace and calm than usual. I talked to the therapist after, and she seemed to be very good and understood my girls well. So, I took them to their second one, and SHT is completely FAD. Basically, the therapist explained, in age-appropriate terms, that the reason me and their mother are separating is that their mother cheated, had an affair, and betrayed me. I knew eventually she would, but I didn't think it would happen this soon. I went to get my girls, and basically it was a burst of tears and them climbing all over me and giving me hugs and crying, saying they loved me. I am happy they love me, but this is not what I wanted to happen with my girls. I asked the therapist why she told them. She said the girls knew you two were separating, and the girls noticed you seemed to be really mean and unloving with their mother. Your girls aren't stupid, she told me. They know who you are and how you treat their mom. They wanted to know why you were separating. I tried to walk around it the best I could, she said, but the girls are not going to progress in therapy if we don't tell them. I am not going to go into detail on what exactly she said to them, but it was age-appropriate. But they know the age-appropriate version of their mother being unfaithful. I think my oldest could maybe handle this and be okay, but not my youngest. So, we get home, and my girls won't let go of me. They are literally crying the whole night, so I order food, I put in their favorite movies in my bedroom. And we lay there all night. They fell asleep, and I went to the bathroom and just cried. My SDBX doesn't even realize the pain she is causing our girls. I don't know how I am going to deal with this. The therapist told me we could try medication for a bit until they get used to the new normal. I refused to do so, which she supported and said was just an option, as I am not drugging them. Disclaimer, she cannot give the drugs. She said they would need to see their primary care, and they would probably diagnose my girls with something that would allow them to medicate them. I would rather deal with my daughter's emotions in a healthy way. I won't have to worry about Christmas, as my daughters hate their mother now. How do I know? My oldest said she never wanted to see her mom again. My youngest follows what her older sister says, even though she may actually agree. I was shocked. I said, you don't hate her, you may be mad, but you don't hate her. She loves and cares about you. My oldest just said no, she doesn't, and then just cried into my arms until she fell asleep, and so did my youngest. So, this is my life now. The AP update. Hey everyone, sorry for the name. I am sure it sounds like a really bad sequel, but I wanted to be clear about what this update is about. Just clear up real fast, though. The girls are doing better. They are still going to the same therapist, but they are doing better. Kind of coming to the realization. My daughters say they don't hate their mother anymore. However, they have made it very clear that they do not want to see her for a long time. Their words are not mine. We will see how that goes. My wife has been made aware of their knowledge. She tried calling my girls. They answered, but my wife has since been a bit more respectful of mine and my girls' boundaries. I think the realization is starting to hit her. Anyway, to the AP, I already knew he was a poser, but this man is awful. So, someone asked if there was an ops. I didn't know. I started looking through some stuff from my wife's work. I was able to find a piece of paper with all the employee numbers and emergency contacts. I called him. It was his wife. It turns out he is married. I didn't think he was. Also, he has a toddler. Well, I told his wife, and she didn't believe me and hung up. A little later, she calls me back and asks to meet. I met her. I show her everything. She asks if we can go to my car. We do. Within a second of closing a door, she burst into tears, crying, saying, how could he do this to me? What did I do wrong? Etc. Well, I said you did nothing wrong and gave her my lawyer's number. After that, she asked how long, and I said I think a year, maybe a tad longer. She then goes from being upset to freaking pissed. I asked her why. She proceeded to rip her hair off. It was a wig. Tell me she just beat cancer. I guess after their child was born, they found some stuff odd while she was in the hospital. They found a tumor. So over the last year and a half, she had 2 surgeries, went through chemotherapy, and was on medication. She looked very good, so I was surprised. She said she beat, and she is better. But they haven't had sex in like 2 years. She said that between my pregnancy and cancer, I couldn't. She got really sick while pregnant. Then her cancer almost unalived her. Once she started feeling a bit better, she felt horrible about herself. She started gaining weight from the meds, lost her hair, and wasn't as pretty as she used to be. She said, I was now at the point where she could have sex and was going to surprise him here soon for being a caring, loving husband. That is off the table. She started crying about her child growing up in a broken home, and I consoled her. She then tried to have sex with me, but I said no, you are not in the right state of mind, and this is not healthy. She thanked me for my honesty. Then I proceeded to ask for the evidence. I gave it to her, and she went home. We have texted a couple times since we are both BS, so we will keep in contact. So, thank you to the few people who mentioned looking for the ops. I didn't even think about it. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoy listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends. I caught my wife, who was 13 years old, cheating with a co-worker. Part 2, Update 5. Hey everyone, so I am already being asked about whether I had Christmas with the OBS. The answer is yes, I did. It was very nice. Honestly, it was wonderful. The whole day was really amazing, all things considered. I laid out a lot of the girls' presents from Santa. This will probably be the last year my oldest believes in Santa, so I need to make it count. Anyway, I lay out the presents early, still dark with no sun. And the girls wake up probably within 15 minutes, saying that Santa had come. I dragged my tired arse out of bed, and the girls opened their presents. They were very happy. After I popped on a movie, the girls snuggled up next to me, and they fell asleep instantly. I eventually got up and made some coffee. My youngest woke up and said, I am hungry, Daddy. So, I put an apron on her and let her help me make breakfast. My oldest then woke up, and we ate. They played with their presents and had a blast. It made me very happy. I need them to get ready later in the evening so they can go see their mother and grandmother. I am usually more strict with them about being ready, but with everything happening, I will admit I have been more lenient. They get ready and say they really don't want to go see their mom. I told them that their mom loved them. My therapist has said I need to encourage their relationship for proper growth. Plus, if I don't, she said my wife could use it against me in court as isolation. She said the girls can make the decision to have a relationship with their mother when they are older. Also, my wife knows of the therapist, and they have talked. She basically told my wife that you betrayed your husband, and it is clear that your husband is the girl's favorite. They are going to need to see a lot from you for them to eventually trust and love you again. Then I said, don't punish grandma for your mother's actions. Go for grandma. They agreed. I took them, and it was pretty easy going. I got there and called my MIL. She came out and grabbed the girls' things. They were going to stay the night for Christmas. My mom asked if they could. I asked my lawyer, and she said it was fine. However, don't leave them there for days or do it often. But that night was fine. I did tell the girls that if they wanted to come home at any time, all they had to do was call me, and I would come get them. As I was leaving, my STBX walked out. I don't know what they said, but my STBX said something to my MIL with a confused face, and my MIL gave her a stern face. I think no. My STBX looked at me with tears in her eyes and waved. I just drove off. I had left food in the oven and everything warm for the OBS to show up. She eventually did, and when she arrived, she didn't have her toddler. I asked where they were. She said that I guess her in-laws wanted to see them for Christmas, as did their father. Basically, she ran the same deal as me through our lawyer. I was like, okay. She was in a very pretty dress, leggings, fluffy boots, and a nice wig. We ate dinner and just talked about our past and got to know each other. After dinner, we went to the couch, and I turned on the movie. We talked about other stuff. Eventually, I got a bottle of wine. I don't drink often, but I usually like a certain wine on Christmas. She asked if she could have some. I said, are you okay? She said yes, so I gave her some. Our conversation basically went from our past, to our interest, to our current issues, and eventually to joking and laughing. As we drank more, we joked more. 2 bottles later, that never happens, our conversation turns sexual. Basically, kinks, what we want or miss, and other stuff. We both found out that we are similar in this aspect. Pretty much everything we are. She said that your wife was lucky and messed up. I said so, as did your husband. I know some of you said I should affirm her last try at me by saying that she is pretty, but I just thought it was a bad thing to do when it came to sex. I did, and she said she knew. I said you could actually take that wig off if you didn't want to leave it. I said you would look amazing without it. You are very beautiful with a pixie cut. She did and cried out a thank you. We kept talking about that stuff, and eventually we started watching a movie about cuddling. Now, mind you, you were both inebriated. When me and my wife used to cuddle, my STBX actually liked it, and it relaxed her when I would rub her breast. Not like hard groping or pinching nipples, but more like a bob massage. I was doing it to her out of habit. Eventually, she said that felt good. I freaked out, stopped, and said, I am so sorry, I didn't realize I was even doing it. She said it was fine and asked if I would keep doing it, as it felt good and relaxed her. I asked, are you sure? She said yes, so I did. I was not going to lie, I was aroused. She noticed and started rubbing me. I went whoops, I am sorry. She asked if I wanted her to stop. I said don't feel like you have to or anything. She said she wants to. So we did that for a few minutes before she kissed me, and I did kiss her back. This eventually led to her unzipping my pants and her giving me my head. I then forced her down, consensually, something we discussed and gave her an oral, which then led to some very rough sex in the living room, kitchen, and office. We eventually ended up in my bed, where we had more passionate lovemaking. Lots of kissing and very slow sex. When we finished, we cuddled, cried, and eventually fell asleep. The next morning, we ate breakfast and got showered. I asked, did you plan on this? She laughed and said no, a girl always has an extra pair of clothes. She then asked me as she was leaving, did you feel anything last night? I was honest and said yes. However, we need to make sure that we are worried about us and our kids, and these feelings aren't false. She agreed and said we would explore them later. She actually gave me a kiss on the cheek and thanked me for a great night. I said I would text you later. I went and picked up my girls, and they actually had a good time. They said mom was on her best behavior for the most part. So yeah, right now I just finished preparing dinner, and will be spending the evening with my girls. Thank you, everyone. These Reddit posts are like my therapy, lol. Update 6. Hey everyone, I know it has been a couple months since I last updated. Things have just been very busy, so this won't be too long. Also, I don't blame many of you for thinking this is fake. Reddit is full of liars, SHT stormers, and storytellers. Anyway, girls are doing much better between their therapist and activity. They are having a much better time. They are still having their moments, but they are doing much better. As for me and OBS, we still talk almost daily but have done nothing physical since. We have met once since, and we discussed that even though we do not regret what we did, we shouldn't have done it. Now for my STBX. For a few weeks after Christmas, she was still trying pretty hard to get me to talk to her. However, that has, for the most part, stopped. She now works as a lawyer. My lawyer was made aware of this and has said that our meetings will be coming soon. She has realized that I am actually done and that she can't get me to change my mind. I am sure they will want to try reconciliation, but that will not be happening. She is still calling and texting me every now and again to try to get me to reconsider, but she gets left on hold. As to the OBSX, he has actually been arrested. Not too much detail for now, but I guess he confronted my STBX at work, and they got into a verbal altercation where she threatened to call the cops. He then assaulted her, which led to the workers there getting involved and pretty much dropping him. Cops showed up and arrested him, and STBX is pressing charges. I am sure he will be getting a lawyer against her for their affair, but I haven't heard anything. MIL told me this and said you can see her if you want. I guess he blacked her eye and busted her lip, but she said karma is a B and this is hers, so. I have not seen my wife, nor have the girls, since the incident. Other than this, unless something crazy happens, you probably won't hear from us until after our first meeting with our lawyers. Update 7. Hey everyone, I just wanted to give a quick update on everything. First, I need to apologize. I did not update you after our first meeting with our lawyers. A lot has just happened, and life gets in the way sometimes. However, I am going to try to summarize as much as I can. To begin, my girls, they are not as good as I was hoping. They were making really good progress, and were doing much better. However, as the day gets closer to the divorce and they realize we are actually separating, they both begin to really have issues. Their therapist said that the girls accepted it but really thought you two would work it out, realizing you aren't as hitting them hard. My youngest is doing okay, but my oldest is actually very concerned. She is actually depressed, and it is concerning to me. I am taking the proper precautions with her therapist and doing what she recommends. She herself is saying we may have to medicate her for a while, but I am resistant. However, it may get to a point where that is the only option. My oldest is an in shape and healthy girl, but I have noticed some of her clothes not fitting. I don't think she is eating as much, and I have discussed with her doctor putting things in her food to help her gain weight. I hope we can get this figured out because she is really starting to scare me. I feel I have failed as a father because I have never wanted my daughter to be like this. I am not religious, but if you can please pray for my daughters. Next, as usual, me and OBS are still in contact every day. We are getting along great, and things are getting easier. However, there is some bad news for her. No, it has nothing to do with her health or her child. Thank goodness. However, here, STBX has skipped town. I am not surprised by this. He left shortly after he was bailed out for assaulting my sister. I came to find out that my ex was the last to have contact with him. I guess my suspicions were correct. She was going to press charges, and he threatened to sue due to their affair and claimed she used her power over him to initiate the affair. She dropped the charges, he wasn't going to sue, and he left. No one knows where, and his parents claim they have no idea. Do I believe them? No, but I have no way of proving that. As for our meeting with our lawyers, there was not a lot of drama, to be honest. It was basically just my lawyer making my demands. After the incident with AP, I pushed for full custody. My lawyer laid out everything that I wanted. Her lawyer didn't even listen. He said that, for the sake of the children, you two need to reconcile. My lawyer laughed and said there was no chance in hell. She brought up everything that has happened with what she did, the issues with AP, etc. He said these are our demands, or we will see you in court. Once again, he just wanted to reconcile. My lawyer said it very well, and we will see you in court. 2 weeks later, I got a call from my lawyer. She agreed to all terms as long as she got the girls 2 weekends a month and alternating holidays. She originally said all weekends, but my lawyer said no. I agreed to the terms. She is still their mother, and I hope she has learned to make our girls the priority after all of this. My STBX looked awful. She is borderline anorexic, looks like she has aged 10 years, and I even think her hair may be failing out. Even though I do not love her, she is still the mother of my daughters, and I do not like seeing her that way. I asked my MIL to get her some help. She said this was her punishment. I said she was still your granddaughter's mom and your daughter. She needs to be there for them and needs help. So she is currently working with her to get her back to the way she was. She has actually left me a note to meet with her in person, in public, one time before the divorce to talk. I did agree, and we are meeting sometime next week to have one final talk. It will be recorded and made public. We are still married, but the end is in the first week of July, so a few more weeks and it will be over. Thank you all for the support, and I hope to be on the other side very soon. Update 8. Hey everyone, sorry I didn't update earlier, but I have just caught up with everything, especially with 2 active young ladies during the summer. I am going to hit just a quick few points, then get to my STBX and our meeting. Against my better judgment, we have decided to put my oldest on medication for a while. I discussed this with her primary, her therapist, and my STBX. She will be on the lowest dosage possible until everything settles. Once we see that she seems to have adapted to the way of life, we will start weaning her off of them. My youngest seems to be adjusting well, with no real issues. She does say she wishes we would live together again, but she understands why. She is very smart for her age. We have no clue where AP is. He has pretty much vanished. Me and OBS still talk every day. Now to the part I am sure you want to hear. Me and my ex met at the park where we usually took our girls. Everything was videoed in case she tried something. She didn't. Most of our discussion was about the girls, and she agreed that it was best if they stayed with me full-time for a while during our separation. She said she just isn't in the right mindset to be a mom right now. She said, clearly, I have failed as a mother, and I need to learn how to be one again. Like I said, there is no real need to go into detail about that because it was mainly discussing the girls. Now for the final part. As I got up to leave, I decided it was better to just leave with that information. She did ask if we could stop the divorce, get counseling, and try again. I said absolutely not. I told her that with everything you said and did to me, everything you allowed AP to say and do to me, remind her that she knows what he did to his wife and child. Everything she did to our girls. I am like, do you really think you deserve a second chance? She said no. At this point, I was pretty fired up. I started talking about how I loved her, gave up my career for her and our girls, and did everything for her. She, of course, started crying. Eventually, I just stopped. She said she was sorry. I of course responded with, sorry, don't mean SHT anymore. I then, for some reason, asked, what the hell was going through your head when you started this SHT? Now, I don't know if anyone on here said anything about this, but I do know someone sent me a link to a video on YouTube where some guy read it, and he and others started discussing my situation. I kind of skimmed through the comments, and many of them were right based on what she said next. She blurted, and I quote, I wanted to be the one at home. I had a confused look on my face. Then it all came out of her. She never wanted to run her dad's business. She wanted me to. She never wanted to work 40+ hours at the business. She wanted to be a mom and wife. She just kept going. I wanted you to take over and run it. I wanted to be the homemaker. I wanted to be the one waiting at home with meals. I wanted to be the one playing and taking care of our girls. I never wanted to be a breadwinner. I never wanted to be a business owner. She literally went on for a good 30 minutes, spouting this. After she was done, she looked like she was about to pass out. I just went, then why did you make me quit my job and say you wanted to run the business? She said, I wanted you to say I would do it. I was like, not my business. I have never worked in that field before, so I would have no clue what was going on. Plus, I said, wouldn't it be kind of awful of me to say I would run your dad's business? She said that was what she wanted. I then said, why didn't you say that? Apparently she wanted me to say it because she didn't want to admit wanting to be a stay-at-home wife. I then blew up and was like, all of this over some stupid pride. I was like, I wouldn't have cared if you wanted to be at home and admitted to it. I was so angry at this point, and I still am. I then asked, what does that have to do with the affair? She said that during the pandemic and towards the end, she was working so many hours, and she got jealous and angry about the fact that I was at home with the girls. The AP, I guessed, picked up on that and started telling her all those nasty things about me and how, if I were a real man, she could be at home. So, that led to the affair, and she said she did it once and tried to end it. He said okay, but started talking ill of me again and how she could be home, and she kept doing that. And eventually that became a consistent thing. Basically, she would try to end it, and he would insult me and make her angry and envious, and she would go back to having the affair again, which led to her being mean and nasty with me because of stupid jealousy. That could have been avoided with communication from day one. At that point, she said she just wanted her family back and for things to be back to normal. I was so devastated and angry that I just got up and left. So after that, there has been a lot of anger in my heart, and I am just pissed off. Edit. Also, I forgot to mention that, I guess, back around late last year, she was pregnant with AP's child. She ended up having an abortion. MIL told me that she was acting odd and seeming sick, and I thought she was faking it for attention. Nope, she was pregnant. That is another reason she was going crazy at this time. Sorry for adding this after. I meant to add it originally, but I repenned this and submitted it before adding it. Update 9. Sorry to everyone for not posting in 3 months. This will be quick, but I just thought I should give a few updates. Girls are doing better. We are already slowly taking my daughter off the pills as she is doing better. The divorce is final. Me and OBS are still not dating. But we do go out when we can to talk and be a little sane. AP is now in jail and is facing prison time. My ex tried to commit self-harm shortly after the divorce, but is okay now. However, she is being monitored frequently. To summarize, on the day of the divorce, she didn't show up. The judge just signed the papers for me, and poof, it was done. I later called my ex and said, I don't know what you were trying to pull, but the papers are signed and it's official. About a week later, I get a call from my ex-mother-in-law, who is frantic. I ask her what's wrong. She found my ex in her bed, foaming from the mouth from prescription pills. She was not sure how she got them. She had already called an ambulance, and they were taking her to the hospital. She was not allowed to ride in the ambulance with her. I went to one of my neighbors, who has kids around the same age as my girls, to see if they could watch them. They did, thankfully. The girls and those kids get along very well, and they rushed to the ER. I got there, but they wouldn't let me in and said they had to get her stable. Around an hour later, the doctor comes out and says that she is fine and that it seems she will make a full recovery, but they will need to do some tests to make sure her brain or any other part wasn't damaged. Thankfully, none were. I waited at the hospital till she woke up. I was so angry at her. How could she do this? I'll admit, I was holding her hand and was distraught. When she woke up, she squeezed my hand. At this point, I just sat there. After a while, she started coming and seemed to be okay. She knew who I was, so that was a good sign. She started crying, and I told her not to cry. I told her that when her mother got back, she had to go get some things because they were going to keep her for monitoring, and that I had to get the girls. She tried to talk to me, but I told her she needed to rest. I left, and since then we have had good talks. No, we are not getting back together. Although she told me she would wait for me. If it means forever, then she will. I told her forever is a long time. She is back to normal, has no damage, and is moving on fine. I heavily guilt-tripped her about the girls and asked if she would be okay with them not having their mother. That kind of snapped her out of her slump. We are working more as a team for the girls now, but she is still wanting us to reconcile. No chance. AP eventually showed up and tried to break into the OBS house. She had officially divorced him and taken the house. Thankfully, where we live, a judge can just officiate the divorce if they see fit. When he did OBS, he called the cops and thankfully arrived in time. OBS was defending their child from him. I know it sounds awful, but thankfully they are infants and won't remember. Basically, she locked the door and called the cops. He broke the door and tried to take the child, but she wouldn't let him. He beat her, punched her, kicked her, and threatened to unalive her. She has had the recording since her child was young, like a baby camera. He then tried to ESA her, but thankfully the cops showed up before this happened and were able to arrest him. He is looking at a lot of time. Plus, they later found he was drunk and high. I had an illegal gun in the car and drugs, so there is a good chance this evil boss will never see the light of day again. I have been helping her a lot, and so has one other person. My ex-MIL. Since she found out what happened, she has been helping her a lot. Helping with bills, cooking, cleaning, and raising her child. My ex-MIL looks at this child as another grandchild, and OBS is happy about it. His parents want nothing to do with her or the child now, so it's just her. Thankfully, my ex-MIL is fire and brimstone, but she is also a warm-hearted woman. So, they have been helping. She has refrained from telling my ex about it. I am sure she knows, though, as it is the talk of the town. So, from my understanding, people have noticed that she seems to be so disappointed in herself that she can't stand it. That's pretty much it at this point. I did promise an update where I said how the serving went, and that it would happen in the future. I will probably do one more update and then be done with this forever. Thank you all for the support. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoy listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.